Experts are warning that the next election might not just choose a president, that it might determine whether this republic stands or sinks.
Now, we cannot hand over to people abana mpango.
And now they are saying that it might be down to these two men. One walks in shadows, has made kings behind the curtains. The other is loud, raw, bruised, and is rising from betrayal.
Watu wanaunguza manze. Hiyo tu inatuonyesha tu tukue rada na watu wenye pia tunapigia kura sasa next time manze.
Ever since we voted in 2022, Kenya has been bleeding trust. The youth have marched. The government has cracked down.
Mtu kama huyo apigwe risasi miguu, aende hospitali, akienda kotini.
And the cost of living has risen.
Mafuta ya kukaranga sahi ni gold. Mafuta ya kukaranga, cooking oil, sahi ni kama gold hapa Kenya.
The hope that was once there in the ballot has now died.
Mungu akishasema, ashasema. So hakuna otherwise. The fifth was always William Samoei Ruto.
Now it's betrayal after betrayal. The president who promised bottom up has ended up stepping on those at the bottom.
Akasema bottom up. Kwa hivyo bottom up inamaanisha alikuwa anatuinua miguu juu, pesa zimwagike achukue.
By 2024, Rigathi Gachagua was already impeached.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua tonight stands impeached.
And around the same time, Wanjigi was openly calling for the resignation of the president and pushing for an early election.
William Ruto, not today. I am coming for you because I believe Ruto must go.
The question now isn't if change is coming. It is who will lead this change, because clearly everybody is tired. Everybody wants a breath of fresh air, and this fresh air cannot come from the same stinky lungs.
We are waiting for a major demonstration in 2027 in the ballot. We are very ready and we'll vote you out. Ruto, one time.
So now let's break down what these two gentlemen offer and what is their differences. Fun fact, they are both from the Mount Kenya region, but the way Wanjigi operates, you may never attach him to a certain tribe. He's more of a born town guy who does not associate much with his Kikuyu side.
My name is Wambui. I'm the very proud daughter of Jimmy Wanjigi. I want to say that one thing that keeps us going is our father. We're here we protect him and we love him. Never felt prouder to be his daughter. And I've never felt prouder to be a Wanjigi.
So let's talk about him first. You see, Jimmy Wanjigi has never been elected, but he has shaped presidencies behind the scenes. He helped Kibaki win in 2002.
How Jimmy Wanjigi helped Kibaki?
How involved were you in the Kibaki campaign?
Very heavily involved. In fact, I was the head of logistics for NAC.
He was at the center of the Uhuru-Ruto alliance in 2013.
William Ruto and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta approached me. And they said they have a big problem called ICC. That ICC problem is going to jail them. And they approached me with the view that somehow or another I was going to be able to chart a path for them that would get them to power to get rid of ICC.
But when it came to 2017, he backed Raila Odinga.
My brother Raila Amolo Odinga, I got to know him in 1991. He is my friend.
Speaking about it, he says he abandoned the Uhuru-Ruto alliance because they did not stick to the agreement that they had.
That covenant said this, that if the country saves you, you must save the country.
The agreement that was supposed to put Kenyans first without rampant corruption. Now, after 2017, he did not back another candidate, and instead, he tried to vie himself.
Na mimi nawania kiti ya urais kwanza ya ODM.
In short, he's done being a kingmaker. Now he wants to be a king. When I was doing this research about Jimmy Wanjigi, one of the funniest things I found out is the reasons why he was not able to vie for president in 2022. First of all, he was told that he did not have a degree, a valid degree. But in his education background, you clearly see that after going to St. Mary's School in Nairobi, he studied business in the US between the years 1982 and 1986. So, is it that he dropped out, or the government just was out to make sure he doesn't run for president?
I noticed that you have attached the transcripts. You'll be graduating sometimes in December. But what I need is a degree certificate.
The other reason he was disqualified is because he was told he does not have sufficient supporters from each county. And this is just because of how small his party is. Of course, he appealed both of these decisions through the High Court and the Court of Appeal, and ultimately on the Supreme Court. But all those courts upheld his disqualification.
My dear, Adani here is being told that he's investing 200 billion shillings. For JKIA. Are you telling me a few of us would not get that money locally?
Now, we all know that Jimmy Wanjigi is a billionaire. He is a businessman. So, his plan is simple. Slash corruption, clean up tenders, reset the economy. He's talking about a smarter Kenya.
The larger government gets, the smaller the private sector gets. Government today is in every part of our lives. I mean, you have a president telling us about the price of unga. It should be very free market. Right? And if we have enough competition, that price will be lower than it is today.
But people are asking, can you trust a man who once ate at the same table with the thieves? Can he inspire those in Mathare, Kakamega, Lodwar? In short, does he speak the language of the common mwananchi? Is he just another billionaire who wants to take a box of "I was once a president," like Trump? But the one thing I give it to him is wherever he talks about the debt of the country and the whole economic situation.
But you need to create the environment, right? Which means growth of the private sector and competition.
Yes.
Brings down what you call the scale, economies of scale, so that you have a decreasing element of production. Yeah. So our production costs are not high.
He seems like someone who understands something that the rest don't, and that gives him some points.
China today is competitive because they reached economies of scale. Anything they produce is cheaper than anywhere else in the world.
Yes.
Okay, and yet they still pay their people very well. Now, we need to get government out of our lives. And that means capitalization of the private sector. And that is across the board in Africa.
So let us look at the man, Rigathi Gachagua. Now, he was once the deputy president of Ruto. We all know that.
Mtu yeyote atakosea rais wangu heshima, tutakosana. Our governor, our senator, our MP, anybody from this region and our backyard, pahali si tulipigiwa kura 100%, we want total respect for President William Ruto.
And now he's the president's biggest criticizer.
Wewe Ruto! Wewe Kasongo! Wewe Kaongo!
Gachagua fall from grace, and by grace we mean from deputy presidency, was brutal. He was impeached on 11 charges, stripped of power, and yet his voice only got louder.
Tuone! Mutaoa wasichana wangu! Mutaleta ng'ombe!
You will not see this with most people. He says Mount Kenya was betrayed. He says Ruto used and dumped the mountain. And he says we won't kneel again for anyone. In short, he's saying that Mount Kenya is not going to give blind loyalty. He says that this time we choose one of our own.
Tuliongea na wewe bila kukuelewa vizuri, ulikuwa na Biblia, nini, tukakuchukua vile. Sasa tukija kwa mazungumzo itakuwa ni mazungumzo ya heshima. Kwa sababu tumekuelewa wewe ni nani. Nani mzuri umetoa hii vita mapema. Kwa sababu kama ungetoa baada ya second term ungetusumbua.
You see, words like those are what defines Rigathi. They say Rigathi is raw, blunt, tribal even. But he connects. He can talk to people from any place, whether it's the upper class, the lower class, the very poorest of the people. He can talk to them. To mamambogas, to bodabodas, to angry, hurting Kenyans. Actually, those ones are the people he connects with the most. But can he lead beyond Nyeri and Kiambu? Can he unite a nation he helped divide?
Kwa hii serikali hii, mimi ndio mwenyewe niko ndani. Hata kukija kamia gani, mimi ni chuma ya zamani, niko huko ndani. I'm inside. Hii serikali sinilipigania.
These are questions that Kenyans are asking about Rigathi Gachagua, the man. Of course, when it comes to mobilizing, when it comes to bring people together under one umbrella and speak as one voice, nobody matches Rigathi Gachagua.
Makuzo mko. Makuzo mko.
But people are very reluctant on entertaining the thought that he would be the president of this country. Furthermore, we do not know his financial capability. Not financial when it comes to his own money, but when it comes to the finances of the country. Can he lead this country to a better place financially? Because let's be honest, our problem is mainly pocket problem. Our pockets are dry like the Sahara.
Guys, if you've been checking your FYP, I believe that you've come across so many businesses that are being closed down. So many businesses. Now, I don't know what is happening, but why are people closing down their businesses at such a high rate? You wake up, unaona mtu anauza shop yake 200k, 120,000, 300k.
Now, let's talk about what the experts are saying. Now, the political analysts across the divide are saying that Wanjigi is the intellectual powerhouse, business savvy, global connected.
I'm watching my television and I can see a contingent of police surrounds businessman Jimmy Wanjigi. But that's not the issue. The issue is, who Jimmy Wanjigi anakuaga nani? I don't even understand this guy. Who is he? Because on the same month, 2018, you can all remember, we saw the same scenes under Uhuru regime. And the same accusation, Jimmy Wanjigi is a threat to national security.
But on the other hand, Gachagua is the populist warrior, fiery, loyal, rooted in the Mount Kenya pain. Both men are flawed, make no mistake. There's no angel here. Both men are dangerous in their own ways, of course. The experts, however, agree one man has the ability to save the economy, but the other man has the ability to gather and mobilize the most votes. But none of them is a saint.
Times, mi nawaangaliaga hivi nacheka mkiandamana Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua is not just a guy. That guy is a graduate of political science. A very genius guy.
Now, let us look inward. As countrymen, as Kenyans, what do we really need? Tunataka nini? We must look each other, have a honest conversation. What is it we truly need in this country? Is our problem governance? Is our problem the economy? What exactly is the problem? One thing that we are clear about is that we do not need noise. Kenya doesn't need noise. Kenya needs answers. The shilling is dying. Hospitals are empty. Not empty because of the patients. No, they are empty of the medicine. There are no drugs. Patients are not treated on time. Our national medical insurance is shit. Schools are underfunded. As a matter of fact, we ensure that even our children are going to be able to do their national examination this year. Youths are running to TikTok, not for fame, but for survival.
Back in 10 years, raises tax revenue, not by increasing tax, but by expanding the economy.
And removing barriers.
Removing barriers to our growth.
Yes.
He expands the economy that it ends up giving him 1 trillion almost in taxation revenue. In 2013, when he handed over to Uhuru, he was collecting 1 trillion from Moi's 170, okay? And he was paying 18 shillings of every 100 to debt.
Let's be honest. We don't just need a loud mouth with a tribe. We need a leader with a vision, with data, with guts to fight the system and to serve the people.
One thing that's going to come is pain. Economic pain. And when that pain comes, it becomes a great unifier. Lynn, like you said, you are sweating very hard here. You are losing money. You're not making money. So you start asking yourself, what is it I'm doing wrong? There's nothing you're doing wrong, by the way. Nothing. Don't even cry about it. You're innovative. You've been smart. You've got a good product in the market. There's nothing you're doing wrong. But the system is rigged against you.
Yeah.
That's all. So change it. And it will be rigged for you.
That's why some say, if you need a technocrat, someone to fix Kenya's broken finances, Wanjigi might be the better bet. But if you want a fighter, someone who can rally the streets, Gachagua is the fire that refuses to be extinguished. And so Kenya is now caught between a man with a brain full of strategies and a man with a belly full of rage.
Hii serikali sinilipigania. There is no way I can move even an inch.
One man can win over donors, the other can win over voters, but can either save the country. We know very well what we need, but what we need, we ain't sure we can get it. That's painful.
Anybody who is jobless today, it's not their fault. The system is literally rigged against you. It wants you there.
So who will win? And I'm sure that is part of the reason you clicked on this video. But I'm going to tell you this. It's not about who wins the votes. It's about who changes this country. You see, if the anger keeps rising, if the hunger keeps biting, if this government keeps on falling, 2027 will be a battlefield.
You know, eventually there are going to be enough people who are going to start asking themselves questions. Why am I in this pain? Why is my life not going on and getting ahead? And, you know, the young community of Kenyans have access now to information.
And at the center of that storm, it won't be Raila, it won't be Ruto. It will be these two men. Or rather, these two men represent two kinds of people. People who have a plan for this country and people who are the old politicians that we've always voted for. People who are a loudmouth, someone who can mobilize, someone who can talk nicely, you know, someone who can get us fired up. Does this remind you of someone? When I talk like this, does this remind you of someone? Yes. These two people represent that. Someone with a plan and someone with a loud mouth.
Yourselves, in whose hands will you be safe? In whose hands will you be safe? In whose hands will you be safe?
As I finish, the experts are saying 2027 might not just be another election. It could be the last stand of the old Kenya, or the first breath of a new one. They are saying, we've trusted billionaires before, we've followed tribal kings before, but this time we need more than hope. We need accountability, we need truth. So is it Jimmy or is it Rigathi? The future is not up to them. It is up to you. Subscribe.